Hey there YouTubers and subscribers, RoseRed17 here, and here is a review of Eden Zero Volume 15, Chapters 123 to 131. Now before we get started, please subscribe to my channel and also my Twitter post, and don't forget to like, comment, and hit that notification button for later updates in the future videos. Now on with the video. So in Chapter 123, we see Shiki going up against Justice, but by the looks of this chapter, Shiki's getting beat down and had to be saved by Elsie in the end. Yeah, that pretty much sums up this whole chapter. But what I've learned from this chapter is that Justice and Elsie have the same type of ether gear. But what really interests me about these two is their backstory told in the next chapter, Kiss and Die. It turns out that Justice and Elsie were once childhood friends and destined to be wed by their parents of their kingdom long ago as Prince James and Princess Elsie. But it also turns out that Elsie betrayed her kingdom because she discovered the government's plan. Not sure what that plan was, but I'll find out eventually. But Elsie states that she did what she did and explains why she betrayed her kingdom, and because of what Elsie has done, Justice, or should I say Prince James, is out to get revenge on her. But since this chapter is titled Kiss and Die, well, there's the kiss, but where's the die part? Unpopular opinion? I think the creators wanted to give the Jerza fans that kiss they always wanted. But in this chapter, there's a little bit more going on besides the Justice and Elsie fight. There are the face-off with the members of the OSI versus the OSG, which I really don't care about, so I just want to skip over to the ending part where Shiki is lying there injured, unable to move, then a robot figure comes up to him. The name of his boss is Zenith, and he turns out to be Ziki's mentor and also the founder of the Gravity Ether Gear powers. But this information didn't come around until the end of this chapter, as there was still a lot going on before this panel. So let's start from the beginning. The crew from the Eden Zero ship has lost contact with Hermit and Weiss as they're being tortured by Professor Crazy over here. Jin noticed Clean's strange behavior as if she was terrified by something. Or someone. There is Laguna and Moscow heading towards Hermit and Weiss's destination, while Weiss managed to free himself from Professor Crazy's grasp and also frees Hermit and gives her some encouragement. And I have to say, Hermit and Weiss is my second favorite pairing when it comes to the shipping stream. And just like the reason why I ship Shiki and Hamura is because of their sharing pain and chemistry. I ship Hermit and Weiss for their similarities. Not only that they're both expert at auto repairs and computer hacking, but they both have a dark past that will one day open up to one another. Hermit was betrayed by the people she worked for and loved, as Weiss lost his only family member to Draken Joe. Overall, I ship these two together. I don't care if she's an android and he's a human. I mean, there is no rule in the anime world saying that's impossible. Seeing these panels of these two looking at each other sets up a small spark to me about their relationship. Now back to the chapter, with the crazy nutjob activating a device that will program the robots to kill humans with no mercy. There is Rebecca, Happy, and Pino witnessing the event and ends up saving a young child. And then after that is the part with Zenith and Shiki. What interests me about this is that Zenith used gravity to lighten the pain from Shiki's body, which tells us how that type of force can work in different ways than just floating or pressurizing. Zenith states the weight of the heart of a gravity wielder is powerful but also dangerous, as he uses power to pressurize everything and everyone within the planet, and that is when he introduced himself to Shiki. It is soon discovered that this is the fact Zenith, who died 1,000 years ago as mentioned by Hermit, and now living within a mechanical body. Zenith was one of the Heavenly Knights of the Dancing Sakuras, and that he trained Ziki and taught him about the gravity martial art. And as he mentioned, Ziki was naturally gifted. But then he mentioned about dark gravity, which Ziki has fallen into, and then hoping that Shiki wouldn't fall into the same path. Meanwhile, as everything else was going on with Justice and Elsie still fighting, Hamura became free by the person who trapped her in the first place before getting stomped on, and then Rebecca showed up on a motorcycle with the child she rescued earlier and gave her a lift. Then the little girl mentioned a friend named Mimi, who turned out to be a little robot that was shot and killed from the earlier chapters. Then Elsie ends up retreating with her comrades, leaving Justice with a silly joke about the kiss. Now on to Eden Zero ship, Sister runs to Clean as Jin begs for her help. Sister agreed as she promised she would, and while that is going on, back to the satellite station. Weiss and Hermit is fighting against Professor Crazy, and then he told him about his evil deeds, and that he was the one that traumatized Jin and Clean when they were children. Like, holy shit! That is messed up. Now you see why Clean doesn't express any emotions, because she was forcefully watching someone she cares for get their limbs sawed off. This man is not crazy. No, he is a goddamn psychopath. First, he betrayed Hermit's trust and respect, and then disembodied her for his own personal gains, and now we know he did this? But luckily, Weiss managed to teach him a lesson with the help of Laguna, who showed up in the nick of time, and with their powers combined, they scrapped that son of a bitch. But what I like about this part is that Hermit thought that Weiss was cool as she smiles. And all this happened at the end of the chapter 127, the Doomsday System, which states that is a device that will blow up the planet. Shiki, Rebecca, and the others escape to get off the planet with Shiki carrying Zenith on his back. Now in the beginning of this chapter shows Cleen in an unconscious state, where her sister starts to work her magic. She entered into Cleen's memory and learned about her traumatizing past. And at the same time, the professor talks about getting revenge on the Rutherford family, who are the people that fund the laboratory that he once worked at, and also Cleen and Jin's parents. The Rutherford discovered his illegal research and refused to fund him any more supplies, and so he murdered them and kidnapped their children as his guinea pigs. What the f? Anyways, on to chapter 128, what's important. And you know what? I'm gonna start from the beginning this time. Rebecca, Hammer, and Shiki are trying to escape the chaos surrounding them. While Hermit hacks into the system to deactivate the device that could blow up the planet, Weiss became a little concerned as to why Hermit wanted him there in the first place if she didn't need his help with the process. She replied, if she ever goes berserk, he will be the only one who could destroy her and that she has a lot of trust in him. And then it turns out that crazy professor is still alive and has the balls to beg Hermit to spare his life. And then there's the part where Sister erased the bad memories from Cleen, and now back to Hermit looking like she's about to spare the professor's life, but instead gives him the left hook to the jaw, saying that she doesn't need him anymore and that she has true friends. She ends up deleting the virus from all the robots, reprogramming them back to their original state. Now the next chapter is the end of the journey in the Foresta region, as it starts off with Elsie video chatting with Shiki in the group and thanking her for helping them out. Then Elsie ended the video after talking about Justice and Zeke. And then Laguna is still on board as Weiss asks why he's still there, but he stays silent as Laguna has a goal in mind. The next thing I want to talk about is Witch finding a little girl that Rebecca has saved a while back. And as Witch noticed her tears of the little girl, she asked her name, and it's Aruna. She mentioned her friend being killed, and that Rebecca showed her the spot where Mimi was destroyed, which comforted her by telling the story about losing a friend as well. Which took off her helmet and gave Aruna a great big hug, and saying that her friend Mimi is in a happy place, and that she should be happy for Mimi and for herself. This is a really good chapter in my opinion, and as the title states, everybody is smiling writer, and at the end, it's the best one. And I will get to that part, but first, we got Zeno lying lifeless as Hermit is surprised to the fact that Shiki brought back the so-called legendary gravity wielder. Hermit doesn't believe that it's the real Zenith, and that he's just somebody using his name, but as Shiki tries to state the truth, the robot wakes up after downloading all his hard drive. Hermit asked him who he really is, as she still thinks he's an imposter, but Zeno replies as he suggests that Shiki told her, but later dismissed it because he wanted to ask Shiki a favor. It is something that only he can do according to Zenith. Now that we got that little scene out of the way, now it's on to the best part of the chapter. And don't worry, I will talk about Zenith and Shiki's conversation later on. Weiss walked up to Jin and talked about Mueller being on the planet Foresta and that him and Hermit took him out, and that Weiss admitted that he was being too hard on Jin and his sister Cleen. Now, speaking of Cleen, Sister Ivory came out as Jin asked if Cleen is okay. Ivory told him to go see her himself. Jin rushed into her room, and to his surprise, Cleen smiled for the first time in a long time. Jin was overjoyed as Sister Ivory explained to Weiss that she erased parts of her memory that had a negative impact on her life, and now she's a happy girl. Now that we got the happy and warm moments out of the way, it is time for the beginning of the next arc. It starts off with the members of the OSG, and here is Creed looking at photos of Hamra as he might or might not have a crush on her. One of his crew members came along, and the two started to have a discussion about the members of Eden Zero and describe each one of them. Now on to Justice and his conversation with his crew members, and they discussed their plan of attack on how to take down Shira, as he is considered a threat to the galaxy. But now we heard the introduction of the Emperor, and we get to see what he looks like. And to be honest, I love the design of him. This is what I expected from the silhouette from a few chapters back. Here in this chapter is the introduction to members that call themselves the Ocean Six, including Shira. And as the conversation goes on, it turns out that the Emperor isn't as life-threatening as people claimed him to be. He is more like a fortune teller that can see any outcome with the roll of the dice, and decided to obey the fate of his own power and not take action in Ziki's plan. But before leaving the room, Nero told Shira that he'll be leaving everything in his hands. However, Shira isn't foolish enough to divide the dice, and has a plan of his own to take out Ziki. Meanwhile, on the Eden Zero ship, Zeno told Shiki and the others his idea as to why Ziki targeted the planet Foresta is because he was afraid that Zeno and Shiki would meet there, and that he will make Shiki stronger to take him down. Now it's the last chapter of the volume. Here it starts with a flashback of Ziki training Shira until Nero came along, told Shiki that Zira was adopted and that he was the child chosen by fate. Oh boy, there's gonna be a prophecy thing going on, isn't there? I mean, I got nothing against this cliche. In fact, I used to like it, but as time goes by, it just gets old. But anyways, Nero attempts to pass on his power to Shira, but is afraid that Shira is not qualified enough to handle it, and he has Ziki train him into using gravity powers instead. The flashback ends 15 years later with Shira showing off his powers, claiming himself to be the king of gravity. His secretary came along and ready for department to seek out Ziki. And then he does one of the dickest move on this robot just because he didn't want a robot on his side. Look, I get that he wanted to fight Ziki, and having a robot on his side could show any type of weakness from Shira, but Jesus Christ, he didn't have to blow the guy's head off. Now on to Shiki's crew. Zeno has been training them inside the VRC, as Zeno only has 7 days to get them in shape as he has a scheduled maintenance. And later on, Clean and Jin decide to join them. Clean decided to become members of the Eden Zero, and in Shiki's mind, that is the word for friends. As he jumped in to hug her, Jin stopped him and gives him a smile as he also accepted him as a friend. But back to the training. Zeno had them tied up and then starts to hit them with blocks, as the training is to get them to use their ether gears while they're tied up. And if I remember correctly, this is the one weakness when it comes to ether gear holders. But Jin cheats his way by using his mechanical arms to untie the ropes. And also, is it just me, or does it look like those arms were shot out of his Probably wasn't intentional, but that's what it looks like. Anyway, Jin wanted to cut down his sister, but she said no because it is part of the training and that she could do it on her own. And then suddenly, Zeno transformed into Ziki, leaving the cliffhanger of this volume. Well, that is the end of this volume, and I will have to say, it's pretty good. And we learned new things about some characters that managed to overcome their demons from their past. Not to mention, we learned something new about the Demon King. But that is all I have to say. Thank you for watching, and please support this channel by subscribing and leave a comment about your thoughts on this video. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. Want more updates on my next video? Hit that notification button. And also, I have a Patreon if you want to support this channel. And also look me up on Twitter for a friendly conflict. RoseRed17 out.